Some deaths have no clear explanation. Strange events, eerie sightings, and chilling last words make some cases more than just accidents or crimes. Were these people victims of something beyond our understanding? In this video, we'll look at 5 real stories of disturbing deaths linked to paranormal encounters. Cases where fear didn't end with death. It was November 13, 1974, in Amityville, New York. The DeFeo family lived in a large Dutch colonial house on Ocean Avenue. To outsiders, they seemed like a perfect family, well-off, respected, and comfortable. Ronald DeFeo Sr. ran an auto dealership while his wife Louise cared for their 5 children. But behind closed doors, their home was full of tension. The eldest son, Ronald DeFeo Jr., known as Butch, had a troubled relationship with his father, who was strict and controlling. As a child, Butch was bullied for his weight, leading to self-esteem issues. As he grew older, he turned to illicit substances and alcohol. By his 20s, he was struggling with substance use, frequent outbursts, and barely showing up for work at his father's dealership. Home life was tense, and Butch often reacted aggressively. In one heated argument, he even pointed a gun at his father. Despite clear warning signs, no one could have predicted what was coming. In the early hours of November 13th, Butch took a rifle and carried out an unthinkable act. He went to his parents' room first, then moved on to his siblings, 18-year-old Dawn, 13-year-old Allison, 12-year-old Mark, and 9-year-old John Matthew. By morning, the entire family was gone. Afterward, Butch acted as if nothing had happened. He showered, changed clothes, disposed of evidence, and went to work. Later, he called friends claiming he couldn't reach his family. That evening, at a local bar, he suddenly broke down, saying something terrible had happened at his house. Concerned, bar patrons followed him home. When they saw the horrifying scene, they called the police. At first, Butch blamed a hitman from a criminal organization, and authorities even placed him in protective custody. But his story quickly fell apart. Investigators found inconsistencies. Butch claimed he was at work during the incident, but forensic evidence suggested it happened much earlier. The man he accused of being involved was also out of state. Under questioning, Butch eventually confessed, saying, "Once I started, I just couldn't stop. It went so fast." His 1975 trial took a strange turn when his defense team argued that he wasn't in control of his actions, claiming he heard voices telling him what to do. This led to speculation. Was something supernatural at play, or was it the result of a troubled mind? Despite the defense's claims, Butch was found guilty on 6 counts of second-degree murder and sentenced to 6 consecutive life terms. Even after his conviction, he frequently changed his story. At one point, he claimed his sister or mother was involved, but there was no evidence to support this. 1 year later, the house was sold to the Lutz family, George and Kathy Lutz and their 3 children. They got it for a reduced price, unaware of what had happened there. Soon after moving in, they reported eerie experiences. Doors slammed on their own. Strange noises echoed through the house. A mysterious green substance oozed from the walls. George Lutz claimed he woke up at exactly 3:15 a.m. every night, the same time the tragedy had occurred. After just 28 days, the Lutz family left, abandoning their belongings. Their story was later told in the book The Amityville Horror, published in 1977. It became a bestseller, sparking debates. Was the house truly haunted, or was it a hoax for publicity? Over the years, multiple families have lived in the house, with some claiming no paranormal activity. In 1977, Jim and Barbara Cromartie bought the home for $55,000 and lived there for a decade without any issues, though they constantly dealt with unwanted visitors curious about the legend. The house continued to change owners, its dark history never forgotten. In 2017, it was sold again for $605,000. Despite renovations and even an address change to keep thrill seekers away, the house remains one of the most famous haunted locations in the world. Ronald DeFeo Jr. remained in prison until his passing in 2021 at age 69. Reflecting on his actions, he once said, "I guess the Amityville Horror really is supposed to be me." The Amityville case remains one of the most well-known in both true crime and paranormal history. Whether the house is truly haunted or the stories were exaggerated, its dark past continues to intrigue and terrify people to this day. It was September 21, 1952, in Leibelfing, Bavaria, West Germany, when Anneliese Michel was born and raised in a deeply religious Catholic family. Her childhood was ordinary, and she aspired to become an elementary school teacher. However, at 16, her life took a devastating turn. In 1968, while at school, Anneliese suddenly collapsed, unable to speak or move. She was taken to a doctor, who diagnosed her with temporal lobe epilepsy, a condition that causes seizures, memory issues, and hallucinations. She was prescribed medication, but instead of improving, her symptoms worsened. By the early 1970s, Annalisa began seeing disturbing images, especially during prayer. She also heard voices that frightened her. Despite continuing her treatment, her condition deteriorated. She became depressed and started behaving strangely. Her family saw her ripping off her clothes, crawling under tables, barking like a dog, and even eating insects and coal. When medical treatment failed to help, her family turned to the church for guidance. At first, priests advised her to continue with medical care. However, Annalisa believed something beyond illness was affecting her. She claimed that multiple dark forces had taken control of her, including historical figures and a former priest. As her condition became more severe, her family and a local priest, Father Ernst Alt, were convinced she needed spiritual intervention. Father Alt contacted Bishop Joseph Stengel, who approved an exorcism. Two priests, Father Alt and Father Arnold Renz, began the sessions in September 1975. Over 10 months, they performed 67 rituals, some lasting several hours. During these sessions, Annalisa showed extreme physical strength, had violent convulsions, and lost control of her body. Her parents, believing this was the only solution, helped with the rituals. The recordings from these exorcisms were unsettling. Annalisa's voice changed drastically, and she spoke in ways completely unlike herself. She described internal struggles, saying the forces inside her were battling for control. Over time, she became weaker, refusing to eat or drink. Her body deteriorated, and her knees were damaged from excessive kneeling. She became severely malnourished. Despite her condition, Annalisa told her mother she wanted to endure her suffering as a form of atonement. Her devotion grew stronger, and she believed her pain had a purpose. In her final days, she could barely move and could no longer support her own weight during rituals. On June 30th, 1976, she was critically ill with pneumonia, feverish, and extremely frail. Reports suggest she had a vision, believing her suffering proved the existence of a spiritual world. The next day, on July 1st, 1976, Annalisa passed away at just 23 years old. The official cause of death was malnutrition and dehydration due to prolonged physical exhaustion. Her devastated parents called the authorities, and her case quickly became the subject of a major investigation. Her parents and the two priests were charged with negligent homicide. During the trial, the defense played recordings of the exorcisms, arguing that she truly needed the rituals. However, the court ruled that the priests had failed to provide proper medical care, sentencing them to 6 months in prison, which was later suspended, and 3 years of probation. Annalisa's parents were not punished, as the court ruled they had suffered enough. The case sparked widespread debate. Some believed Annalisa suffered from a severe medical disorder that went untreated, while others saw her as proof of supernatural forces. Her story later inspired the 2005 film The Exorcism of Emily Rose, which portrayed both the exorcism sessions and the legal battle that followed. Even today, Annalisa's grave is visited by those who believe her suffering held meaning. Some leave prayers, convinced she was affected by something beyond medical understanding. Others see her case as an example of the dangers of mistaking illness for spiritual affliction. Annalisa Michel's story remains one of the most controversial cases involving religion and mental health. Whether seen as a tragic case of misdiagnosed illness or something more, her life and death continue to haunt those who hear her story. It was April 11, 1991, in San Francisco, California. Christopher Case, a 35-year-old music executive, was visiting for a business trip. He had built a successful career working with Muzak Holdings and had a deep passion for ancient music. Known for his disciplined lifestyle, he exercised regularly, took vitamins, and followed a strict daily routine. During his trip, Christopher met a woman who shared his interest in classical and ancient music. Their conversation started off well, but it quickly took an unsettling turn. The woman, who was older than Christopher, developed a romantic interest in him. However, he politely turned her down. Instead of moving on, she became upset and made a chilling remark. She claimed to have knowledge of dark practices and warned him that he wouldn't survive the week. Christopher didn't believe in such things and brushed it off, assuming she was just angry. The next day, he returned home to Seattle, unaware that his life was about to take a bizarre turn. In the following days, Christopher started experiencing strange occurrences. At first, he heard whispers in his apartment, but when he looked around, no one was there. Shadows seemed to move across the walls, and an eerie feeling of being watched overwhelmed him, especially at night. By April 14th, the situation had escalated. Christopher, now deeply disturbed, called his close friend Sammy Suter and told her what was happening. He was convinced that something unnatural was affecting him. Sammy, however, thought he was just imagining things and tried to calm him down, but the experiences only became more intense. On April 16th, Christopher called Sammy again, this time in a panic. He claimed that while he was asleep, he felt an invisible force pressing against his neck, making it hard to breathe. He also discovered small cuts on his fingers and blood on his bedsheets. Terrified, he sought help. That day, he visited a Christian bookstore in Seattle, where the store manager Rodney Higuchi later recalled that Christopher looked extremely anxious. He purchased crucifixes and books on protective rituals, telling the staff that he needed to defend himself from something. Back at home, he took drastic precautions. He lined the walls with salt, placed crucifixes throughout the apartment, and kept candles burning down to their stubs. He was convinced he had to protect himself from an unseen force. By April 16th, Christopher was at his breaking point. Feeling unsafe in his own home, he decided to leave and checked into a hotel. That night, Sammy tried calling him, but he didn't answer. Worried, she contacted the police and asked them to check on him. When officers arrived at his apartment, they found the door locked, but nothing immediately alarming. The next day, April 17th, Sammy finally heard from Christopher through a voicemail. His voice, once frantic, was now strangely calm. He said, "They almost got me. I think I'm going to die. It's over." He also mentioned that he had reached out to a Catholic priest, but nothing seemed to help. On April 18th, police returned to Christopher's apartment. This time, the door was unlocked. Inside, they found him in the bathtub, fully dressed, with his head resting against the wall. There were no signs of forced entry, no evidence of physical struggle, and nothing to indicate foul play. However, the scene inside his apartment was unsettling. Salt lined the floor, burned down candles were scattered around, and crucifixes were placed everywhere. An autopsy later confirmed that Christopher died from myocarditis, a condition that causes inflammation of the heart and can lead to sudden failure. This was officially listed as the cause of his death. But the real question remained: what led to his rapid decline? Some believe that Christopher's fear consumed him. Extreme stress can have serious effects on the body, and his paranoia, lack of sleep, and growing anxiety may have contributed to his heart condition. Others suggest he may have been experiencing a psychological condition that caused hallucinations and paranoia, which worsened as he became sleep-deprived. Then there are those who believe something unexplainable happened. Christopher genuinely believed he was being targeted, and the steps he took to protect himself suggest he truly felt he was in danger. Whatever the truth may be, Christopher's final days were filled with fear and distress. Was it psychological, a medical tragedy, or something beyond explanation? To this day, no one knows for sure. But Christopher Case's last moments continue to raise questions, leaving behind a mystery that remains as chilling as it is tragic. On January 26, 2013, 21-year-old Elisa Lam arrived in Los Angeles from San Diego. A student from Vancouver, Canada, she was taking a solo trip along the west coast of the U.S. after months of university stress. She wanted to explore new places and experience life on her own. Throughout her trip, Elisa stayed in contact with her family, calling them daily. They supported her travels, but were concerned about her safety. Everything seemed fine, until she disappeared. Elisa was last seen on January 31, 2013, the day she was supposed to check out of the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. When her parents didn't hear from her, they immediately contacted the police. Hotel staff searched the building but found no sign of her. Then, a security video from inside the hotel's elevator was released, capturing Elisa's last known movements. The footage showed her pressing multiple buttons, stepping in and out hesitantly, and moving her hands in an unusual manner. She appeared to be interacting with something unseen. The unsettling video quickly went viral, sparking countless theories. Some believed she was frightened, while others thought she was experiencing confusion or distress. 2 weeks later, the mystery deepened. On February 19, 2013, hotel guests had complained about low water pressure and an odd taste in the tap water. In response, a maintenance worker, Santiago Lopez, checked the rooftop water tanks. When he opened one of them, he made a shocking discovery. Elisa's body was floating inside. The circumstances of her death raised many questions. The rooftop was secured with locked doors and an alarm system that only hotel staff could access. The water tank itself was large, heavy, and difficult to enter. How Elisa ended up inside remained a mystery. The Los Angeles Fire Department drained the tank to recover her body. Due to decomposition, a full forensic analysis was challenging. The coroner later ruled her passing as an accidental drowning, stating that there was no evidence of outside involvement. A toxicology report showed Elisa had taken prescription medication for her bipolar disorder, but no harmful substances were found. Experts suggested that if she had not been taking her medication properly, it could have contributed to her unusual behavior in the elevator video. Despite this, many questions remained unanswered. How did she reach the rooftop without triggering the alarm? How did she open and enter the water tank alone? And why was the hatch open when her body was found? Theories spread rapidly. Some believed she had experienced a mental health crisis that led to a tragic accident, while others suspected outside involvement. Some even speculated about supernatural forces at play, pointing to the Cecil Hotel's dark history. Since opening in 1927, the Cecil had been linked to numerous unsettling events, including disappearances and unexplained deaths. It was once home to individuals involved in criminal activities, including Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker, who stayed there during his crime spree in the 1980s. Over the years, guests reported eerie occurrences, from unexplained noises to shadowy figures in the hallways. Some believed the hotel's troubled past had an effect on those who stayed there. Then, another bizarre detail surfaced. Elisa's blog continued to post updates even after her passing. Some thought this meant someone had accessed her account, while others speculated something more unexplainable was at play. As the investigation continued, Elisa's family filed a lawsuit against the hotel, claiming it failed to ensure guest safety. The hotel argued that what happened was unforeseeable, and the court ruled in its favor. Though the case was officially closed, the unanswered questions kept it alive in public discussions. Some saw it as a tragic accident, while others remained convinced something more disturbing had happened. The Cecil Hotel's reputation only grew, attracting true crime enthusiasts and paranormal investigators. Documentaries explored the case, and it even inspired a season of American Horror Story. Paranormal investigator Zach Baggins and his team from Ghost Adventures conducted an investigation at the hotel, reporting strange occurrences like water faucets turning on by themselves and unexplained sensations. Elisa Lam's story remains one of the most puzzling, unsolved mysteries of modern times. Was it simply a tragic accident influenced by mental health struggles, or was there something far more disturbing behind it? For now, the truth remains unknown. On April 19, 2020, 19-year-old Caitlin Ann "Cat" Reston passed away suddenly in Virginia Beach, leaving many unanswered questions. A devoted mother to her 5-month-old daughter, Aaliyah, Cat was active on social media, often sharing updates about her life and personal beliefs. But after her unexpected passing, speculation quickly spread online, with many questioning whether her spiritual practices played a role. Cat was born on November 29, 2000, and grew up in Virginia Beach, attending Green Run High School. She was determined, strong-willed, and deeply committed to her daughter's well-being. In the months before her passing, Cat had been open about her spiritual beliefs, specifically her practice of Wicca, a modern pagan religion. She frequently shared posts about her journey, and on March 30, 2020, she tweeted, "Let people live and have their own religion. I'm Wiccan, and I always will be." This, along with other posts, reflected her dedication to her beliefs. One of her posts also caught attention for another reason. She had shared images, including one of a doll that some believed resembled a doll baby used in certain spiritual rituals. The doll appeared to have strands of hair attached to it, which some linked to ritual practices. At first, her post didn't seem alarming, but that changed when on April 17, 2020, Cat posted on Facebook, "I seen Papa Legba today and I'm scared." Papa Legba is an important figure in the Vodou religion, often seen as a spiritual gatekeeper. Her Facebook post led to concern among some of her friends. Some warned her against engaging with spirits without proper knowledge, while others dismissed it as nothing serious. Just days later, on April 19th, Cat unexpectedly passed away at her mother's home. Her obituary was published on April 23rd, but it did not mention a cause of death. This led to widespread speculation and theories about what may have happened. One of the most popular rumors was that Cat had unintentionally invited an unwanted spiritual presence into her life. Some believed she had mistakenly connected with Baron Samedi, another Vodou spirit associated with the afterlife, instead of Papa Legba. Others thought she had attempted a ritual involving the doll baby and that something had gone wrong. A Facebook user even claimed to have done a psychic reading for Cat before her passing, stating that a spirit had warned them about her fate. Some suggested that she experienced intense fear after her encounter, which may have triggered a medical emergency. Another theory was that she had suffered a panic attack while in the bathtub, leading to an accident. Some speculated that she had mixed alcohol with medication, causing her to lose consciousness. However, none of these claims were ever officially confirmed. As these theories spread, another controversy emerged, one regarding cultural appropriation. Some believed that Cat, a white woman, had engaged in spiritual practices that weren't meant for her. They argued that she may have misinterpreted these traditions, possibly leading to unintended consequences. However, many who practiced Vodou and Hoodoo pushed back against this idea. They explained that Papa Legba is not a harmful spirit, and that the belief that spirits would punish someone for cultural reasons was based on misconceptions. They also pointed out that much of the speculation about Kat's passing came from misunderstandings of these traditions. Despite the many rumors, the true cause of Kat Reston's passing remains unclear. Some reports suggested she had taken a combination of alcohol and Xanax, which may have led to an accident. Others believed she may have had an undiagnosed medical condition that caused a sudden health emergency. What is certain is that Kat's passing was a heartbreaking loss for her loved ones. She left behind a young daughter who will grow up without her mother and a grieving family searching for answers. To this day, the mystery of Kat Reston's final moments remains unsolved. While her story has sparked discussions about spirituality and the unknown, the truth behind what really happened is something only she will ever know.